All right, welcome to Torrance Adult Schools Career Week 2021 healthcare presentation. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Liliana Ortiz, and on behalf of Student Support Services, we thank you guys for joining us today. So this presentation and this entire career week is basically meant to present to you guys different but different career paths, including the healthcare career paths that you may be interested. During this presentation today, you will have the opportunity to learn about different programs that we offer at Torrance Adult School, as well as hear the experiences from some of our partners who are in the medical field. Before we get started, I would like to introduce you guys to our Director of Adult Education. His name is Dr. Wayne Dulio, who would like to say a few words. Dr. D, are you on the call? I believe he may not be here yet, but in the meantime, I'll just give you guys a quick overview of what we will be doing today. So we're going to start off with a presentation by our South Bay Workforce Investment Board, who will be talking about the different services they have available through the One Stop for our students. And then I'll be talking a little bit about the Torrance Adult School allied health programs, including pharmacy tech, medical billing coding, and medical assistant. And then we're going to end with our panel discussion and a Q&A at the end where you will have the opportunity to ask any questions to our speakers. Just give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that our director is on because I know he really wanted to introduce himself and say a few words to you guys. I don't think he's here, but that's fine. I'm sure that, he just wanted to say that, thank you guys for joining this presentation. During COVID, it's definitely a really difficult time. I know there's a lot of things going on, but if he does join us later, I'll give him the opportunity to introduce himself so that you guys can meet him. So we're going to move forward with our South Bay Workforce Investment Board partner. We have Bridget Cruz, who will be talking about the career services available through the One Stop. Bridget, are you ready? Bridget, you may be unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh my, sorry about that. I promise by tomorrow I'll be okay. But thank you for the introduction. My name is Bridget, as Liliana said. I do work at the Torrance One Stop. At our center, we provide services to youth, which is anywhere between the ages of 18 to 24, and we work with adults. So we provide an array of services. We can help you look for work if you're looking for job opportunities. We also have some funding for training. So if you wanted to take classes at Torrance Adult School and you needed financial assistance, that's something we may be able to pay for if you're eligible. It's not a student loan. It is free money so you can attend training. And then for our youth, again, between the ages of 18 and 24, we do have some funding for work experience. So if you've never worked and you need to get some work experience for your resume and just want to try it out, gain some skills, we do have some money for that. So honestly, it just depends on what services you need. We try to help as much as we can. Again, the goal out of all of our programs is to help you find full-time work. As I mentioned, I am a career counselor for the program, but we also have a job developer on site who you would work with as well, and she would send you out job leads every week and work with you in order to help you find work. And we also have a lot of different virtual workshops, anything from identifying jobs if you haven't worked before, getting your resume together, a little bit of everything. And then if you're looking for something specific, all you have to do is let us know. Our offices are closed right now, but we're still meeting with people one-on-one or remotely, whatever you would feel comfortable with. What I'll do is in the chat, I'll go ahead and list my contact information and also the youth case manager. If you're interested in learning more about our services, or if you would like to work with us, or if you have any questions whatsoever, all you have to do is call us, you can email us, and we'll try to help you as much as we can. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bridget.
Mhm.
All right, so we are going to move forward and we're going to talk a little bit about our TAS programs. So some of you may already be enrolled in some of our programs, and some of you may be new or are currently in our ESL and high school diploma program. So this is still a great opportunity for you guys to kind of learn a little bit more about what we do have to offer. If you do have any questions as I'm going through the presentation, please type them in the chat box and my colleagues will be able to assist you. So in terms of our allied health program, we have industry recognized certificates, meaning that these programs prepare you to work in a specific job. So we have three main programs, which are medical billing and coding, pharmacy technician, and medical assistant. We also have a medical terminology class, which basically is an introduction class that will teach you the basic language that you will need in order to work in the medical field or to work in any of these three programs. I highly encourage you guys to take that class if you don't have any experience in the medical field, or if you just want to refresh, if you're an ESL student or a high school diploma student who wants to learn a little bit more about what to expect in the medical field, the medical terminology class is also a good starter. The class will begin March 29th and end June 10th. We do offer it every term. The next program that we have is the medical billing and coding. That program is only offered twice a year, in March and in August. Our next cohort will be starting March 15 and will be ending July 16. As part of this program, you are required to do a 160-hour externship, which basically can take like a month or two, depending on how many hours you do per week. But this is great because you gain hands-on experience. And sometimes what happens is after you finish your externship, you may be hired by the externship site. For those who do not know what medical billers and coders are, they basically are the liaisons between the medical facility and the insurance company. So they may be working with payments, insurance claims, the invoices themselves. There's definitely a lot of work. And actually, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this specific field is expecting 8% growth between the years of 2019 all the way to 2029. 8% growth nationally. That's a large demand. So this is a great program if you are interested in entering that program. Enrollment is already open. For pharmacy technician, that program we offer it 3 times a year, and the next cohort will be beginning March 29th and will end June 24th. There is a requirement for a 120-hour externship. Same with the medical billing coding. Pharmacy technicians are often hired by our externship sites. There is also a high demand. Currently, they're expecting a 4% growth in this field between 2019 and 2029. That's still pretty large given that it's national. As a pharmacy technician, for those who do not know, you help the pharmacist prepare prescriptions. You may be answering a doctor's requests, electronically or through the phone. It's definitely a great program if you're interested in that. And then our final program is medical assistant. So this program already started in February. If you want to start the program, I believe this is the last week to enroll, so I encourage you to enroll as soon as possible. The next cohort will begin this August. And for this one, there's also a 160-hour externship. So for those who don't know what medical assistants do, they basically help both with the kind of the clerical and medical tasks at a doctor's office, or it can be a doctor's office, it can be a hospital, any other healthcare facility. So they may help with preparing the patient rooms, updating records, assisting with exams or other front duty activities. And for this specific job, there's actually a 19% growth expected between 2019 to 2029. That's very, very large, 19% growth. So overall, for the medical field, there's a high demand. And if you're interested, I highly encourage you guys to enter one of our programs or enter a healthcare program that can help you prepare for a job. Now, throughout our programs, we do prepare you for the state and national exams. And we actually take you step through, by step on all the requirements that you need to meet in order to apply for your licenses and certifications. Now, the requirements for a program. So the first requirement is the high school diploma and equivalent or equivalency. If you have a foreign diploma, that's okay, but you will need to get your foreign diploma translated and evaluated, especially if you are applying for your licenses. For example, for a pharmacy technician, you do need to get licensed by in California, and they do require the copy of your diploma and the translation along with a notarized signature. So make sure you do have your diploma ready to go. If you are a current high school student or a current GED high set student and you're close to completion, you can enroll in a program. However, we do ask you to meet with our counselor, Veronica Nieves, who you'll meet in a second, to get that approval in order to enroll in the class. The second requirement is the right to work in the US. So the right to work as in having your work permit. If you're a US citizen, you should have your social security number. As long as you have your right to work, you should be fine. Because if you don't have your right to work, then you're not going to be able to find employment after a program. If you're an ESL student, you must be ESL level 5 or higher. This is recommended because there is a lot of material you're going to have to read and cover in a short time. If you are ESL level 4, you can still enroll. However, we do require you to consult with your English teacher, and we require them to provide a recommendation for us to enroll you in the class. If you are an ESL student, you will get support throughout all our allied health programs. We have an ESL teacher who will be in the classroom helping you with your assignments, helping you understand different terminology. So that's a great benefit for ESL students. Now, as part of our allied health program, there's also many support services available to our students, including resume and interview preparation practice. Externship placements will help you find an extern. Oftentimes, we get a lot of facilities asking us for externs. We also will help you with job search assistance and assistance and guidance for registering for the state and national exams. Like I mentioned earlier, we will take you through every step that you need in order to get registered for these exams in order to obtain your licenses. And we can also help you with referrals to transcript, translation, and evaluation services. So enrollment is open if you guys are interested in enrolling in any of our classes. To enroll in these programs, you can register online through www.tastusd.org. You can mail or fax your enrollment March 2nd. If you are an ESL student or you are an ABE student, meaning the high school diploma or high school equivalency student, please contact the office. There is a different enrollment process for you. So we ask that you contact the office soon so we can start enrolling you in our classes. Now we're going to be moving forward to our panel discussion. After the panel discussion, you'll have the opportunity to ask our panelists any questions that you may have. So I'm going to introduce Veronica Nieves, who I mentioned a little bit earlier. She's our counselor here at Torrance Adult School. She'll be moderating our discussion. We also have Brooke McIntyre Tooley, who's the Director of Outreach and Volunteers for the South Bay Family Health Care Center, and clinic, and the South Bay Family Healthcare Clinic is actually one of our partners. We have Nina Carr, who is an AR billing and coding specialist for Skyline Urology, which is also one of our partners. And we have Dr. Angela Chan, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. She's the Senior Vice President for RX Relief, which is a great partner of us for pharmacy tech, for our pharmacy tech program. So for Annika, whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and get started for the panel.
Okay, welcome panelists. Like Liliana said, I am the school counselor at the Torrance Adult School. So I help students complete their high school education and help them to transition to different programs. So for the panelists today, we have several questions. The first question is, what kind of positions can we find within healthcare? And so I'd like to start with, I guess the person that I can see on my screen right now is Brooke. Brooke, would you like to take that question first?
Yes, thank you for having me today, Liliana and Veronica. I'm happy to be here. So what kind of positions can we find? In the medical field, over the years, and being the volunteer coordinator, we've grown to find a need for phlebotomists. So medical assistants who are going through that program, I recommend, and one piece of advice would be that if they're good at drawing blood, that they might want to go on and get a certification in phlebotomy. It's required for certain agencies to go out in the field and draw blood or do finger sticks. And also the hospitals are always looking for people to go in and start IVs and that sort of thing. So you sort of become a specialist in that regard. Other things that you might want to consider now with the changes in health field and epidemiology and virology might be a good place to think about going into above and beyond what you're doing already. And then, as they mentioned, they have a program for pharmacy. South Bay Family Healthcare just opened a pharmacy in our Redondo Beach facility. We have 5 locations, and we're happy to be a partner with Torrance Adult School, as well as some of the other schools in the area in placing externs. So other things might be behavioral health, hospital advocates, pre and post-op. There's a lot of opportunities out there. And I'm sure some of the other panelists might have some other things to mention as well.
Thank you, Brooke. Nina, would you like to answer that question as well?
Certainly. As a medical biller and coder myself, there are many positions you can pursue in the healthcare industry, whether it be in medical facilities, doctors' offices, outpatient clinics, hospitals, dental offices, and even insurance companies, independent billing companies, and so to name a few.
Thank you. And Dr. Angela Chanda, anything to add? Hello? Oh, she might not be with us. Okay, so let's take the next question. What is a typical workday like for someone in healthcare? Brooke.
Well, thinking from the hospital point of view, I would say, no matter where you are in the hospital, you may be always ready for an emergency situation. It's going to be challenging, but a typical workday could be anything from, dealing with emergencies to just a regular schedule, people, and greeting the patients, making the patients feel comfortable, setting the tone for the setting that you're working in. So, if someone's coming in anxious, trying to reduce that anxiety, so you're doing a lot of different things. You're a detective, you're a counselor, you're a social worker, you're a referral resource, you're a lot of things to a lot of people, including yourself. So again, you asked at a later question, what's a piece of advice? Make sure you get a lot of rest.
Thank you. Nina, same question.
Well, I can speak from my side being an AR specialist, billing specialist. While I don't have much interaction with patients, I do spend a significant amount of my day on the phone speaking with the insurance companies, following up on the status of claims, submitting claims compliant with government and private policies. I do perform code reviews and try my best to resolve claim denials, submit appeals when necessary, posting payment and adjustment. And of course, I do the coding of surgeries, and so it's a lot of my days basically split in two. So I do a lot of my telephone work on the morning, and then in the evenings I do my coding and get the new bills out.
Thank you. I think it's really important for students to know what a typical day looks like so that they can identify in terms of like their goals and personality to see if it would be a right fit for them. Do we have Dr.
Absolutely.
Angela Chanda on the phone so she can answer on the call so she can answer the question? No, it looks like we don't have her, so we'll just move on to the next. What led you, Brooke, what led you to this industry or position?
Well, my story might be a little unusual. I really didn't seek this out. I was in high school and I started to volunteer at the South Bay Free Clinic with my brother, who was a Vietnam vet. And so he was part of a group at El Camino that was Friends of the Free Clinic, and he was a medic. So he took me under his wing and brought me into that setting. And from there, I never left. And that was a long time ago. And so I have had the awesome opportunity to grow up in the medical field, doing a lot of different things with a lot of different people at different times, and seeing how medicine has changed over the years, and all the wonderful technology, the ability to be able to find more resources, to be able to detect what concerns patients have and how to help them. But again, going back to what a typical day is, or what's most important is really just helping the patient uh, have a deep knowledge of what's happening to them, maybe what they can do to better to create a better healthy lifestyle, or finding out what they can do to make themselves feel better so that they always leave our agencies better off than when they walked in the door, no matter what the diagnosis. So really, I just started as a volunteer and I never left. And so that's how I got involved. And I've always found science sort of intriguing and medicine. So it worked out well for me.
Thank you so much for that. Nina, what's your story? What led you into the industry or position you're in?
I was previously in the business profession, business management, and so always curious, about learning new things and challenging myself. Always wanted more, learn more, and every couple of months, I was like, every couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years, I was like, it's not enough. I need something and another challenge. And of course, my mom years ago had always tried to get me into nursing, and I'm like, no, not me, I'm not doing this. But I did, one of my very first jobs was working with GlaxoSmithKline, and I stayed with them for 9 years, thoroughly enjoying the environment and learning, about the new procedures and medication, all the drugs, and so that was happening to help people in this world. And then I came to the States 3.5, nearly 4 years ago, and decided, well, I needed a career change, and recognizing that the industry was growing rapidly,
Thank you. Next question. What do you like most about working in this industry? Brooke?
Well, what I like most is really just, I do a lot of health education in the community, as well as placing volunteers. And also, I have, I wear a lot of hats. But one of my favorite things is doing the health education and then connecting people and being connected to other agencies in the community, and then finding the right people for our patients at the right time when they need that. I think that's very important. When I first started, I felt like I had to do everything for everybody, but there comes a time when you really realize what your boundaries are and what you're capable and not capable of, and that's an important asset to have and to know about yourself. So it's really about the connecting, the health education, and just being present.
Thank you for that. Let's move on to the next set of questions. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Nina, did you answer that question, the previous question?
I would just add, that being in this industry has allowed me the flexibility to be with my family more than, away at an office 8 hours. And really has satisfied my need for continuous learning. It's brilliant. And it's provided me with a stable income.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Next question. Okay, now we have the next question. Okay, so the next question is, what type of interests and abilities and skills would help a person succeed in this industry or occupation? And Brooke, if you want to please answer that question for us.
Sure. So again, I mentioned some of that in the last answering the last question. I think what's important is knowing your boundaries, really being sharp in your skills, especially when you're doing vitals on your patients. The soft skills are really important. Being able to be empathetic, checking your biases, especially working in a healthcare agency like ours. We deal with a lot of different cultures and people, so it's important to have some basic knowledge of different cultures and different people. Also, making an effort to understand those cultures, being good stewards of the agency. So really being that representative, understanding the agency's mission if they have one, what the goals and objectives are, and then also having good listening skills and being able to communicate, especially if you're doing patient health education, because a lot of what I do is like really sensitive types of health education, sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, contraception, and these are very personal, intimate conversations with people. So really having a good understanding of what your subject is, and then understanding all the outerlying situations that might go along with that. So it's really about representation, being a good steward, communication. And then having an interest in what you're doing. Love what you do.
Yes, makes a lot of sense. Communication and loving what you do. I agree with that. And Nina, what are your thoughts on this question for your occupation?
I think well, Brooke has certainly answered that. Definitely communication skills, being able to pay attention in empathy coding is paying a particular attention to detail. There's a lot of research that I do sometimes, even on the internet, of try to look for previous cases and see what has been done, why. Certainly communication skills. And from the point I do also from time to time communicate with patients on outstanding accounts. It's not something that I do often, but I have been required at times to do that. And I think it's very important that you have that personality and understanding that, some people are in a position, it's difficult for them more so now to pay those bills. They don't want to owe you. So being able to connect with them kindly, and not just, and sort of understand how they feel when you're making that call, but yet be strong enough and assertive enough to ask for that money. It's very, very important, also nowadays, times that we find ourselves in. Communication and attention to detail, certainly.
Thank you. Very helpful information for all of us and our students. Our next question for our panelists is, what type of education and training, technical knowledge and experience do you need? Brooke?
Well, first of all, the training and education that the schools, such as Torrance Adult School, gives is very important. So we look for those agencies that are sort of at the top of the mark, who can prepare these externs, and we can tell what kind of a job the schools are doing. And we appreciate Torrance Adult School and how they train their students. It's important. Some of the schools are not maybe not up to date as much, or have other issues that they're dealing with. So that training and education from there is very important. Coming in with that language, also the terminology is important. And then ongoing training throughout their work, keeping up with their medical assisting certifications, going through training that's maybe required for the agency. Recently, right now, we're actually putting some of our medical assistants through a certification training for basic health worker training, family planning, so that they can work with our family planning patients and with the youth. So, and again, knowing who you like to work with well, that's important. The technical knowledge, of course, is now computers, being able to utilize the computer programs such as Zoom, or these type of platforms where we can do the virtual health, telehealth, because that's going to be the next wave of the future. Feeling comfortable doing this, speaking, like you feel, some people have trouble speaking. Public speaking is, I would say, is a good thing to do if you're shy and even have trouble working with your patients sometimes. So learning how to express, communicate, and keeping up with your skills, and then all the equipment. So your EKGs, if there's a change in equipment, making sure that you ask to get that training on how to use it properly. So don't be afraid to ask. Always ask, and always pay attention, and be curious. Nose around. When I tell people that when they come into the clinic, open drawers, find out where things are. That sounds, we always think of training as so formal, but when somebody asks for something, they want a speculum, or they want gauze, or they want this, all you need to do is turn around and find it. Boom, done. So train yourself to train yourself to train others.
Thank you. I really like that. Be curious and train yourself. I think that's good advice, because sometimes we're always waiting on other people to guide us, but meanwhile we do have our own ability to help ourselves with that aspect. Nina, what about you? What type of education and training and knowledge and experience is needed for your?
definitely curiosity. The Torrance Adult School, at the end of the class, you are very well prepared to get into this industry. I mean, there's several times when you think there's no way you're going to remember all of this information that you come across. But at the end, you're going to be very surprised at what you subconsciously have remembered when you get into the field. It comes back to you, and it's a continuous learning. You're not expected to learn everything in 6 months. It's always growing and learning. Know your method of how you learn, I think, is very important as well. I use a lot of flashcards and that type of thing to learn, highlighting my book, highlighting these specific terms that really helped me develop a pattern of how you learn and sort of stick with that. Through the continuous education credits is very important in maintaining your certificates. There are many websites available for the free continuing education, something that you need to maintain after you've certified in the industry.
Thank you. So continuing your education is very important. Now we're into the next set of our questions. These two will be, I think, our last questions. Maybe there's one more. So how has the pandemic affected the industry? What do you expect in the future? Brooke?
Well, as I mentioned, the telehealth and the virtual health has really changed. The pandemic has really affected that industry. We were on that path anyway. The pandemic has just really excelled that trajectory. So we've really had to kind of speed that up. And in some ways, it's been wonderful. Many of the patients really, many of our patients, because we are a 501c3 nonprofit, we are serving some people who are low income and now people who have lost their jobs and can't afford their COBRA during this pandemic. So we're starting to see more and more patients in need of the services that we provide. And many of them can't afford the gas. They're struggling for food. And so being able to see their clinician or physician via phone or through telehealth or the virtual health for some has been a godsend. So I think that's the wave of the future. And even in older adults, the next generation coming up is going to be very savvy with using computers. So I think we can expect that in the future. Also, I think that the pandemic has affected us in the way that hopefully we don't forget, because this is just the beginning of one pandemic. In my lifetime, we might see another, maybe, but this is my second pandemic in my lifetime. The first was HIV, which is still happening worldwide. This is my second. So again, I think that when I was talking earlier about where people can go in medicine, epidemiology and environment, the environment is going to be the next wave as well. And that's another reason or another affect of the pandemic in my mind.
Right. Nina, your thoughts?
From the billing and coding side of the industry, it's made the world a little smaller again, in that we now can send reports and so via fax. A lot of the insurance companies previously wanted things posted to them, which, it's delayed. It's, I think, a lot more costly for the organizations, and now they seem more readily available to accept emails and faxes of medical records or whatever documentation is required. For me personally, I am working from home now from March. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So it's given me that ability now to be home. I don't not out, have to get out there. So that's how it's affected us. I think I honestly do believe that you may see a lot more of the coding and billing jobs possibly become more remote. Yeah, that's my, my feeling.
Right. Wow, that's really interesting. Obviously, the pandemic has affected everybody to do things more independently versus going into a group setting and learning learning how to navigate virtually. So thank you. Our next question for the panelists is, how can students prepare and find a job during these times? So during the times of the pandemic. So Brooke, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say again, prepare. Nina brought that up. The preparation is so important. So prepare, practice your interviewing skills, good hygiene, just being ready to go in and knowing the skills like looking people in the eye, if you like to shake hands, and then having a strong resume, making sure that the grammar is good, that there's no misspells, just looking at the details, being very detail oriented. And then, as I mentioned earlier, know the agencies that you're going into or the doctor's offices. Get a little background, look on their web pages, find out how long they've been around. Maybe you know someone that works there, but those would be some of the things that I would recommend. And again, be curious. And then also ask yourself why you're doing this work. And like, if you don't like cardiology, then don't go work for a cardiologist. If you like dermatology, and skin and being a detective that way, then seek out something that's really interesting to you. And then, maybe you'll change later. Nina's very curious. She likes a challenge. Most people do. Some people don't. They like to go in one place and just stay there. So really get to know yourself and what it is that you're looking for. And then again, I'll say it again, but really exude it, love what you do. And if this is really what you want to do, when you exude that in the interview, that's going to show.
Thank you so much, Brooke. Nina, what are your thoughts? How can students prepare during these times?
Okay, so definitely a proper resume. Have someone review that resume for you. I know that your school does offer, I think they have a session where they show you how to have your resume properly prepared. And remember that during your externship program, you are on an interview. Treat it like you are on an interview. Dress properly. Make sure that you come to work on time. Those things, while you're being observed in this process, while you're at the externship, they're really looking at you almost like an interview. And that is very important. A lot of people tend to forget that they come in, oh, well, I work 3-4 days this week, and before I can't come today, or I'm leaving half day today. You're technically on an interview. I was hired after my externship program with Skyline, and that's one of the things. Treat it like you are being interviewed. There's additional websites. I know the AAPC website also has jobs available. They have a list of what jobs are available. Indeed, I guess, and I believe the Torrance School also sends out, communication on what jobs are available as what we call foot in the door jobs.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and Liliana, who is our job coordinator, also assists students with resume preparation and job leads as well. Our final question for our panelists is, what advice would you give a student interested in this industry? Now, I know you've been giving advice all along, but let's just think about, like, what are the top 3 nuggets of information, nuggets of advice that you feel would benefit students the most in your industry? Brooke?
Again, I would just say, be curious, keep it simple, be prepared, be on time.
Thank you. Nina, how about you?
Dedication. It's something that you like,
Mhm.
remain dedicated to it, always curious and have that desire to keep learning, want to know what's new, what's out there.
Okay, thank you. And Nina, did you say the first one was education?
No, I didn't, but yes, definitely. Education is a must, continuous education.
Continuous education. Okay, thank you so much, panelists, for all your information and your advice. That was the final question. We're going to be opening it up now to any questions that our participants have. Liliana, are there any questions? If you have any questions, please write them in the chat, and Liliana and I will be addressing our panelists, okay?
Yes,
So please
before
write-
we, Veronica, real quick, before we do our questions and to give the audience some time to type in their questions, we do have our director here now. Dr. D, Dr. Dooley, are you ready?
Yes. Thank you about my first of all, sorry about my tardiness, but I caught the middle to the tail end, and boy, great information coming from our panelists. And thank you, Liliana and Veronica and all the others that have put in all the work to get this ready for students. Really some great information. So thank you. And to our students, please reach out. We have a team that will help you along this pathway. And so good luck with your journey, and we're here to help. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. D. Students, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. I do have some questions that they asked us when they were registering for this event. And one of the questions, and it can be Brooke or Nina who answers, is are you going to need to take the COVID vaccine in order to work in a medical facility?
Not at this time that I'm aware of, although most all of our staff are getting the COVID vaccine, but it is optional, just like most vaccines might be, and the staff would sign a waiver.
Okay. Nina, how about at your facility?
Actually, Veronica, I'm not sure. I would imagine that it would be remain optional. I'm honestly not certain.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. I do have another question from our students. Is work experience a requirement? I know we have a lot of students who often don't have any medical experience whatsoever. How would you guys respond to that? Is work experience a requirement to work in the medical field? Brooke?
Well, I believe right now we only require about 6 months experience for our medical assistants. Many of the medical assistants that do come through on externships, many are hired from their externships. So we also utilize that experience, and it's a wonderful opportunity. Unfortunately, right now, they are not taking any externs placements at the moment. Hopefully that will open up as more people are vaccinated and we see what's happening with the new variant of the virus.
Yes, and that's happening. We've noticed a lot with some of our externship sites. They are reopening a little bit at a time. But definitely through externship, it's a great opportunity for students to gain that experience that they may need in order to work. Nina, how about you in the medical billing coding side? Do you need work experience, or would the externship be sufficient, or how would you respond to that?
Certainly for the coding side of things, you are required to have your certificate to be certified. I didn't have any experience going into the field, and I was able to secure a job. Within medical billing, I think it's all about your attitude, willingness, and your positive attitude within the environment. I think is more needed than experience.
Okay, great. So that's great news, because we do have a lot of students who are starting from the bottom and really do want to work their way into these careers. Now, another question I did have from the students were, are these occupations suitable for individuals older than 50 years old? Brooke?
Yes, yes. We have no hiring uh, boundaries in that regard. So, and following the laws as well. But we do like people coming in. We know that older adults come in with different life skill experiences, and that's always welcomed as well. And, um, they've learned some of those soft skills that we're looking for.
Nina, would you?
So there's no barriers there as far as I know or can tell.
Okay, great. Nina, would you like to answer that question or?
No, I certainly agree with Brooke. Definitely. I don't think there's anything I can add.
Yes.
Definitely no barriers as I can see.
Yes, and we actually have students from all ages and all areas of life. So we definitely encourage you guys, if you want to enter this program, and please do so. We can definitely help you with that. Now, I see a few questions that we do have. Give me one second. For this question is for Brooke. Brooke, is there any possibility to volunteer in a medical field right now, in the medical field right now?
Not at our agency at the moment, but if I'll put my name and email in the chat. And if people want, I can give you some referral resources to other agencies that may be taking volunteers at this time and doing placements. We're going through a transition right now, so I'm not quite sure when that will open up. I do have volunteers that are not in the clinical setting, but that would be like for public health. So I'll put my name in the chat and then you can send me an email and we can talk more about the possibilities and the opportunities.
Okay, great. Thank you. I do have another question. I think some students I'll answer this question. So what's the difference between the state and national certification, which is more in demand, and why? And Tiana, thank you for answering that. But for the students who didn't see it, basically the state allows you to work in this particular state, so in the state of California, and the national certification or license allows you to work anywhere in the nation. However, there are certain requirements, like for example, for the pharmacy technicians, you are required to have your license here in the state of California. And then which one is more in demand and why? So it really depends on your state. The state of California has very particular requirements that they have for their healthcare workers. If you are living in the state of California, you should definitely follow those requirements. That way you have a higher chance of getting a job. But when you look at the overall demand for the healthcare industry, there's a huge demand, especially right now because of COVID. There's a higher need for medical assistants, medical billing encoders, and pharmacy technicians. So when we look at that, if you enter the healthcare field, you have a good chance of getting a good job. Okay, any more questions?
I just wanted to say one more thing too. I'm not clear on, we did open a pharmacy in our Redondo Beach facility. I may have mentioned that. So we may be looking for those farm techs in the future, but I'm not clear. You can go on our webpage. I'll put that in the chat as well, www.sbfhc.org. And you can look to see what the requirements are as far as experience. But it may be about the same as for medical assistants.
Yes, and that's great. And I know we weren't able to have Dr. Angela on our presentation today. However, there's a lot of demand in the pharmacy technician field. So for our pharmacy technician students who did join us today, thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to have a conversation with Dr. Angela. But if you guys have any more questions, please, we have 5 more minutes. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat. But in the meantime, you can find more information about our programs through our website, tstusd.org. We also have a student support services website where you can find resources on getting your diploma evaluated and translated, as well as information about the support services that we provide, like resume interview preparation. You can also contact us directly. Veronica Nieves, who you had a chance to see through this presentation, she works with our high school diploma and equivalency students. Please contact her directly if you have questions. Tiana works directly with Career Technical Education, so she'll be the person helping you out with resumes and with preparing for your interview. And then I work mainly with the ESL students. So if ESL students, if you're interested in any of our programs, just let me know. Feel free to follow us on social media as well. We will be posting our presentation through our YouTube. So hopefully you guys can view it. So I don't see any more questions.
I think maybe the students need to be reminded when our classes start.
Okay, I see. Yes. So the classes for so spring starts March 22nd. That's the spring term for the entire school. However, our classes in the Allied Health program, they start at different times. For medical terminology, it starts March 29th. For pharmacy tech, March 29th. Medical billing coding starts March 15, and a medical assistant started February 16. For medical assistant, if you do want to enroll, please contact us after this presentation so we can give you more information, because enrollment will close soon for medical assistant. You can also find this information through our catalog, which is available on our website. Okay, any more questions? All right, if not, I want to thank our speakers for joining us today. Your insights are definitely very helpful for our students and our community. And to our students, hopefully we'll see you in our classes in the future. Thank you guys, and hopefully you have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.